Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode 67 of Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, Helaina Cappel of Burnt Island Games and Kids Table Board Gaming. We're going to be talking about their big brand new Kickstarter. Got 48 hours. It's super exciting. We're going into the home stretch of In the Hall of the Mountain King. Gumbo Live is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Check out our other fine members like What's Eric Playing? It's a weekly review series for various board games, tabletop games, and board game apps with some focus on his amazing photography. He's been doing it since 2015. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hey, hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter at Board Game Gumbo, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions on the chat. But enough blather, let's get right to our guest. Hey, Helaina Cappel, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You are a publisher and a designer, so I know you're familiar with the elevator pitch. Give us the elevator pitch. Who is Helaina Cappel, and what is Burnt Island Games?
All right. Helaina Cappel is a teacher and a mom and a board game publisher and designer. And I do a lot of things in my life. Burnt Island Games is our second brand. It was born out of the want and need to republish Endeavor, game that was published many years ago by Z-Man. And I really, really, really wanted to make that game come to life again. And so I started a second brand, Burnt Island Games, for that. So
holy cow, you guys have been getting the praise, and I got to see it on the table, and it wow, production quality fantastic.
Thank you.
But I don't, unless time is different in Canada than it is down here, you gave a lot of stuff in only 24 hours a day. How do you do it all?
Oh, I don't know. I just do it. I just go. I don't sleep very much. I'm always on. When, for example, when we're playtesting or designing games, we're doing it with our kids. And so that's how we get some time in with our children. Nice. But I don't know. I can't sit still. I always want to be doing things, new things, and things that are exciting for me. So I just go, go, go.
Hey, there's Steve O'Rourke, the producer. He's checking in with you, saying hello, Helaina and BJ, and also Jeremy Davis, who's not a teacher per se, but runs the big Hoover, Alabama public library system, especially for the kids areas. So you'll see him on YouTube. He's the Game Geek Ninja. Awesome to hear from you, Jeremy. And hopefully, Jeremy, I'll be seeing you this summer at some of the cons. Kirk says, hey, guys, it's great to catch another episode. I've been so busy traveling lately. He is, Kirk, what is it you do? He teaches English language to foreign students way on the other side of the world. So we haven't seen him in the last couple of episodes. It's nice to see Kirk checking in. So you talked about being one of the things you do is a teacher. My wife is a teacher, and we have a lot of teachers, as you're going to see in the chat room. What do you think attracts? We talked about music and board gaming with my buddy Johnny Pack a couple of weeks ago, but I noticed there's a ton of teachers out there. What is it about board gaming and teachers that's so attractive?
I think that there's so much learning to be had when it comes to board games. For me, my classroom is always filled with them. I start the beginning of the year with one kind of board game, and I play it for a week straight, and we talk about what it is about the game that is so important for us to know about the strategy, learning strategies. And, I even use it for math and language concepts that otherwise would sort of be abstract to students. And when you put that into a game, it starts making more sense. So for me, education and games go hand in hand.
I had the opportunity as a young kid to get pulled out of class into a different little program where they did a lot of enhancement type stuff. And one of my earliest memories is a teacher that loved board gaming, and she would just encourage us to make our own games about whatever subject we were talking about. So I've been doing this, it just seems like forever that I've had this games ingrained in me, and it's all because of the heart of a teacher. So what you're doing is very special.
Thank you. It's an amazing thing to watch my students. In my classroom, in my area, I find maybe like 2 or 3 kids in my class have experience with games, and kids come to me and think, oh, what a cool teacher wants us to play games all the time. But by the end of the year, kids understand that we're using them specifically for learning, which is really nice. And I do that as well. I have my students design their own games by the end of the year. So we have this like year-long study of what mechanisms are, what's fun about games, what's not fun about games. And I actually have them choose a part of the curriculum to create a game from, and they're actually not allowed to create a roll and move because that's copping out. And because we learn so much, and you know what, if I didn't say that to them, they would all make a roll and move because that's the easiest thing for them to do. So it's
true. Yeah. Jeremy says, hey, we use games the same way at our library, and I've seen some of the videos when he does that. And Steve says he's a professor and his wife is a teacher. He's talking about the Venn diagram. Maybe the intersection is curiosity. Not a bad
very
point.
Good.
Not a bad point. What skills do you bring as a teacher to your publishing side? That's another one I don't want to push down. I mean, a big important part of your life is your 2 publishing companies. What have you brought in your role as a teacher to that?
I think my necessity to always have kids and gamers engaged in what they're doing. It's interesting to me to watch my students be interested in a subject in a way that, just is natural to them. They don't have to sit at their desk and do the work. They are genuinely interested in what we're doing. I feel the same way about games and creating games. And when I design a game, when I, work on making a game better, I'm always looking for how engaged are the people who are playing and what are the things that they're engaged in. And are they the things I want, the experiences I want them to be having? And so that part of my teaching, I think, has crossed over into creating games. And, I always say, I've created 2 games already with Josh as a co-designer. Josh is my husband and partner. And I always say to him, I don't feel like I'm as much of a game designer as he is, but I certainly spend a lot of time making games a lot better because I do have that intuitive understanding of what people are enjoying when they're playing.
Like a developer.
Yes, like a developer.
That's a tough job, trying to take what somebody else has done and try to put that little shine on the belt buckle, as they say. Right. So, BJ from Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel, who's in here to talk about one of their games that are coming out on Kickstarter, and in fact, finishing up the last 48 hours. But what I wanted to talk to you about is, you talked about being a teacher, and one of the games that I noticed, my buddy Eric Bashimi had done a review of one of your games from Kids Table called Rec Raiders, and exactly what you had just described about being a teacher. I almost see that influence in the way that Eric described it. He said, hey, it's worker placement, but it's a friendly one because it teaches people how to do the worker placement mechanic without being so, draconian in the results.
Right.
Is that something you think you brought to it? Or was that already in the game?
Well, I mean, it was sort of in the game, but there was a lot of stuff that needed to be changed. Actually, Rec Raiders, before it was Rec Raiders, was actually an ice cream making game. So you had to build recipes of ice cream. And it was cute, but the game was a lot deeper than making ice cream recipes. So basically what you were trying to do was send your workers in your store, in your ice cream store, to the fridge and to pick out scoops and fulfill these recipes. And as I was playing it, it was nice, but I felt like it needed something deeper. A deeper theme. And as we did some development on it, the wreck diving theme just sort of came to me and
jumped out.
It did. And those mechanisms that they had created for worker placement. So just so you know, when you are sending your diver out to a wreck to pick up some of the things from the wreck, when you place it in, you're placing in a wreck that could be next to a neighbor or next to yourself.
Okay.
And so when you place the diver and you're next to yourself, you actually get 2 pieces from the wreck. If you place next to your neighbor, we're calling it neighbor's gains, you actually open the wreck up for the person who's next to you to take a piece of stuff out of the wreck as well. So it's a really interesting twist on worker placement.
I love that. I love that reward where someone else does something on their turn, you're still engaged because you're getting a reward. And I also like the fact that it's not so lock off. You know, some worker placement games, which I love. You and I have talked, off the camera, that worker placement is one of our favorite mechanisms in any kind of game. But this one is more of that intro to it. It's not so unforgiving as some games.
Right.
And that is Rec Raiders. Is that still available out there in the wild?
Actually, we are about to start fulfilling in Australia and in Europe, which is really exciting, and the UK. And right now pre-orders are closed, but we'll be opening up orders again in 2 months' time. And the game is actually, I haven't really announced this anywhere yet, but it will be in Barnes and it will be in Barnes and Noble. In the spring. Yes, it's very exciting. And then other hobby stores around North America.
Are you guys doing BNN yourself, or you're using PSI or somebody else to
it's
get
PSI.
that out?
It's
PSI. That is fantastic. That is a lot of hard work. I know what goes on. Talking to publishers behind the scenes, I know what you had to do to get that. So congratulations on that. That's
Thank
a
you
big
very
win.
much. Thank you. It's our second, actually our third game in Barnes and Noble, and I think it was sort of natural for them to go into it because it's such a nice game that is like a family sort of lighter weight, relaxing game to play, and it fits very, very well into the Barnes and Noble shelves.
Well, look, Verla LeBaron says, looks like one I want to keep an eye on. And Verla, take a look at this cover. Is this one of Josh's art? Because I know Josh is an art and graphic designer.
He did all of the graphic design and a little bit of the art. The cover itself is from Apolline Etienne. And we've used her on a couple games already. And she's look at that. So beautiful, isn't it?
There's Steve O'Rourke. He's getting a zinger in. Funny that the diving theme took the game deeper, but congratulations on getting into Barnes & Noble. Nice, Steve. First a mini for Steve tonight. Yeah, Rec Raiders. That's one I want to look for. So I will be looking for it in Barnes & Noble. That is awesome. And Verla says she loves that color, Helaina. So that is awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel, and I wanted to talk about a game that I've gotten a chance to play. I'm not sure if you've gotten a chance to play. Have you played Scorpius Freighter from AEG? No. Sounds familiar? No? Scorpius Freighter. If you like the show Firefly or any kind of show where there's rebels trying to evade the government, then this is the game for you. Now, I will admit that the theme is not exactly it's not the biggest theme, but it's got a great design pedigree, a couple of really good designers, Matthew Dunson, David Short, I think. I don't have it in front of me, but basically what it is you've got this 3 system rondels on the board, 3 different rondels, each with all the different actions. On each one of those rondels is a different ship representing the government, hovering around the system, watching us honest businessmen, just a little bit, maybe skirting the law every once in a while if we can, trying to bring needy medications maybe down to the home planet system or different technologies to this home planet system. And as you go around the rondel, you upgrade your crew. As you can see from that little photo, you build bigger spaces on your storage. And what's really cool about it is not only you're upgrading your crew, but you're actually upgrading that big board that you have, the ship board. And what's neat about that is you can chain those things up. And you and I are going to talk in a little while about a game that you like. But the I love games that make you feel a little clever when you have things that happen in a sequence, 1, 2, or 3, back to back to back. Let's see if I can find another photo. Oh, shoot, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, and that is Scorpius Freighter. It takes about anywhere from an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, maybe a little bit less if people know the game. But are you a fan of sci-fi type? Did you ever watch the show Firefly? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I've never been a sci-fi fan, but
Ooh.
Josh is, and so it's often around me.
Yeah, so that's David. I did get it right. It's David Short and Matthew Dunstan. You might remember Matthew Dunstan. He's done a million games, but Elysium is probably the one that he's most well known for. Fantastic game. Again, in Elysium, you know that you can chain up those cards, and that's the thing that always makes you feel clever. And that's what Scorpius Freighter does. When you get a chance, you build up your little ship there with those tiles, and the placement of those tiles next to each other can actually give you stronger and stronger actions. If there's one thing that's maybe a downer for the game, it's not really that thematic. I found Elysium a little bit more of a thematic game than Scorpius Freighter. But if you have the right play group and you have people that get into the rebel scum theme or the Firefly, theme versus the, brown coats, then you're going to have a good time, and maybe you can bring that theme out. But that is Scorpius Freighter from AEG. Let me see if and that leads me to talk about a game. The reason I thought it was kind of a cool segue is that, BJ from Board Game Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel. You played a game recently called Gizmos from one of the Chat Krewe's favorite designers. They love talking about Phil Walker Harding. What did you think about Gizmos?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I feel like every time I play it, I get better, which is nice. I am not, even though I make games and I design games, I'm not the best at playing games, so I don't often win. But every single time I play that game, I feel like I get better at it. I found it a little bit difficult at first with all of the graphics and getting to understand what they meant. But just what a fun game! Really, so much fun.
Yep, Gizmos. It's one of those games that you and I were talking about with Scorpius Freighter, where you feel so smart near the end of the game when you've built out these little cards, and all of a sudden you're getting even more marbles than you actually need. And you're looking at the others and go, I don't even need these marbles. I'm just going to toss them back in a tray. And you at least that's the way we play. There's a lot of braggadocio while we're playing Gizmos. And the guy in the brown shirt there in that picture that I have, he's a big fan of the game, and I really enjoyed it. I watched it at Gen Con. I got to watch a demo with some of the guys sometimes that are in the chat room, Jason and them. And I just missed it, so I didn't get to play. But I was like, wow, this thing has some table presence with this big gumball machine with marbles coming down. And how important do you think in today's board gaming, in the last 5 years, how important is having that big gumball thing with balls coming out now as a publisher?
God, it's huge. That's huge. Any sort of real table presence that a game has is part of the reason that people will buy and replay a game. A game can be amazing, but if it's not beautiful, first of all, it's not going to come off of the shelf anymore because there's so much competition. And number two, you need to be engaged in the game in more than just the gameplay. You have to be in it. And when you see a game like Gizmos on the table, you know that a lot went into it, and you know that there is this presence that makes people, if you're playing in a public place, walk by and say, "Oh, what is that?"
Exactly.
They're so interested in it all of a sudden. I'm like a huge proponent of having the best possible art you can possibly have in a game, and if you can make something look different, then people will be interested in it. And our next kids table game actually has some very cool table presence.
Ooh, can you talk tonight?
I can't talk too much about it, but I can tell you this: you'll be digging for dinosaur bones.
Ooh, I like it already.
Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing.
One of my kids' favorite areas of all of Disney World, and in Florida I'm talking about, is that the little area in the Animal Kingdom where you can actually go into a dinosaur exhibit, and there's a whole dinosaur buried underneath the sand. and the kids have to dig it out every day. And I guess the Disney staffers, the cast members, they call them, have to fill the stand back
Right.
up every day to bury the dinosaur again. And by the end of the day, the dinosaur's exposed. But God, they had so much fun, exploring that. If you could bring that theme out into a board game, that excitement of what's inside the dirt, what dinosaur am I looking at? Ooh, I am curious. Let me just ask one question. Is
Sure.
it a game that's already been published and you guys are republishing it, or is this a new
Nope.
design?
It's a new design by a never published designer, which is really nice.
New designer.
A brand new designer, and he's from the Toronto area, which is we're from Toronto.
Sure.
So that's very exciting for us.
All right, we're going to be looking at that because that sounds very interesting. Verla, I know Verla, that's got to get you excited.
Good.
Talking back about Scorpius Freighter, Jeremy said, "Hey, I really love this game. It has some expansion potential. Make sure you draft your crew after playing one time. There is an option. You saw those 4 crew cards. All 4 belong to your crew.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an option that Jeremy's talking about in Scorpius Freighter. If you really want the advanced game, mix up all the crew cards and people will draft the ones they want. So then you're really designing the crew you want. If you haven't seen Jeremy, that's Jambalaya Plays Games. He does a lot of social media stuff. He does a lot of stuff on Board Game Spotlight. So he's always got, as we say on this chat room, Jeremy has the game. So if you ever want to find out about a game, he's the guy to talk to. All right, so BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel from Burnt Island Games. We got one last game I want to talk to you about. Let's see if I got the right one. Is that's
it? Yep.
Oh yes,
that's it.
So I haven't played any of Shem Phillips' games. I feel like it's a hole in my game experience because I love worker placement so much, and he and his partner they're tweaking it in every single one of his games. Tell me, did you like Architects of the West Kingdom? It's getting some controversial reviews. I'm curious to hear what you say.
You know what? So when I think about a worker placement game, I go back to the reason I got into gaming in the first place. And it's the what is that game called? Stone Age. That was one of my first games, and I loved it so much. And I haven't played it in years and years, and I feel like I'm sort of past that. But when if somebody asks me, I would play it again. I kind of feel like it has the same sort of vibe, but it's a lot smarter. There's a lot more depth to it. It's there's an interesting
updated
tweak to it. Updated. This is the only Shem Phillips game I have played, so I can't say anything about the rest of it. And I've actually only played it a couple of times, but both of the times that I played it just was completely engaging right from the beginning for me. His art is so consistent between all of his games, which is also really nice, and that's what's intriguing to me to be playing some of the other ones. But what a fantastic game. I really, really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I can I tell you this? This
Sure.
is one of those games, and there are not many of them. This is one of those games where I have been wanting to play these games because of the covers. Right. That's crazy. I mean, normally a cover doesn't make me want to or not want to play a game. I mean, I played Stefan Feld's games, and half of those covers are just so boring.
Yeah.
Concordia is one of my top 2 games. Is my number 2 game of all time, and the cover is just not very good. But his covers, I don't know what it is. I don't know the artist, but whoever's doing the art, it's like you said, it's consistent. It seems born out of the same world, even though they're not.
Yep.
I just love the way that the presentation is for all these games, and it's made me want to play the game. Yeah,
absolutely. Really, really, really beautiful.
When you guys are thinking about a game for your own publishing company, have we flipped it on the table where the cover of the box is so important? Have you found that in your publishing world?
100%. Again, if it doesn't catch your eye on the shelf, you're never going to pick it up. It doesn't matter how good the game is. There's so much competition these days that you have to do everything you possibly can to make your game stand out. And the number one way is to make that cover beautiful and to make your components beautiful and different and feel good. And because you're so Gaming isn't just mechanisms. Gaming is a variety of experiences that are tactile, that are visual, that are interacting with the mechanisms, and they all go hand in hand. And I think that really 100% that cover has to be striking.
Yeah, so the presentation has to be there to get me excited about the game, it seems like nowadays. But the gameplay has to be there to make you want to bring it home, to make you want to introduce it to your friends. There's a certain game, I won't name names, but certain game that did a fantastic on Kickstarter. It's from a guy that knows a lot about how to run a Kickstarter project. And that game looks amazing on the table. And it is so boring. I mean, it's basically a card game that's dressed up with a bunch of miniatures, and they could have done it as a little tiny box card game at Target for $10 and had the exact same game experience. And I just kept saying that there's sizzle, but there's no steak. I need some steak, right?
But it is sold very well. I mean, I know which one you're talking about. It has sold very well, and it continues to sell very well because of that extra experience that you get. That, it's beautiful on the shelf. You get it to the table presence is unbelievable, and
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that Architects. Oh man, I'm gonna get in so much trouble here. I'm hoping that Architects. You know what? We're gonna edit this out. This is not a live show, right? So, Architects of the West Kingdom. I'm hoping that Architects of the West Kingdom are gonna have is gonna have a much better experience than the one I had with that one. So let's go to some of the comments so I can jump out of this parachute. Yeah, there's a good tension built up. Jeremy says, Ninja says, between having a bunch of workers at a location and having too many. Yeah, I've heard that. They've got this jail mechanic where if you invest too much in one area, sort of like investing too much in components and forgetting about the gameplay in certain Kickstarter games, there's a good tension built up. And you found that's one of the things that intrigues me. Does it work? Because some people have said,
absolutely.
It does work.
I mean, it's also very punishing, which is scary. I don't like to be punished when I play games, but you have to balance, and that's part of, that's what you're supposed to be doing in the game. So,
you said something right. I'm a fan of Lorenzo, but I much rather Coimbra. And the reason is because Lorenzo beats me up by the end of the game. I just, I'm like, gosh, I'm struggling to finish. I always forget the name of that track. It's Piety or something like that. And you're constantly thinking about it. And in Coimbra, I have so much more fun because I'm not so stressed out.
Right.
That's what Steve says. Steve may have it hit the nail on the head. The artwork on these Shem Phillips games strikes me as a love child of stained glass windows and Kim Possible. So it does. Are you familiar with Kim Possible?
Yes.
Disney Channel show that was on forever. But he's right. It's got those angles. Right. It's got the angles in the cover and the big bright colors. Nicely done, Stephen. Nicely done. All right. So that's the best games you and I have played lately. But let's talk about BJ from Morgan Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Helaina Cappel. I want to talk about Burn Island Games and their Kickstarter that's just blown up. It's in the Hall of the Mountain King. In the Hall of the Mountain King. Tell me, how did you guys find this game?
So actually, it's an interesting story. We go every year to the Gathering of Friends in Niagara Falls. I don't know if you...
Je suis jaloux. Je suis jaloux.
Yeah, I was too until we started going. It's very exciting. Anyway, and we go there every year with some of our Canadian friends, and we spend a lot of time with them. To make a long story short, I saw another publisher playing this game, and I was intrigued, and it turned out to be my friend Jay Cormier. It turned out to be his game that he designed with Graham Johns. And I said to him, I want to play it. We don't have much time. He had to leave, so he left it and had Sen Fung Lim, who is his Bamboozle Brothers partner, teach it to me. And I sat down, and after 5 minutes, I was like, I'm not giving this game back to that other publishing company. I'm leaving with it. And I left with it. And a week later, we signed it because I just was absolutely blown away by the design of this game. It just, because it had so many familiar mechanisms, and at the same time seemed like a completely different game. Like, I've played engine building games, and I've played territory games, and nothing
Tile
had
laying
felt,
games.
tile laying games, and nothing had felt the way this game did to me. And as we worked with them, the designers did most of the work on the game from when we signed it to now, but we did a lot of development ourselves. And as we developed the game together, it just sort of became this even bigger and better, larger than life, beautiful, we're calling it cascading production engine building. Right. And it just is, it, like, even talking about it, like, the game blows my mind. And we're about to hit, hopefully, let's see what we're doing here. We have
big 48-hour mark. This is really exciting, Chat Krewe.
We have about less than $4,000 to go until we reach the solo co-op, which is very exciting. And to me, the reason this is so exciting is because since it was introduced to us like 2 weeks ago, I haven't wanted to play anything else.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like that good. It's that good. The base game itself is amazing, the competitive game, but the solo is just, I mean, it's amazing. It's very exciting.
Are you normally a solo gamer, co-op gamer?
No. Ooh, not at all, actually. If you ask anybody I know, they will tell you that I do not like playing co-op games, and I definitely don't play solo games. And so the fact that I've been so engrossed in this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, Steve's posted up the Kickstarter link for anybody that's watching it live right here. Last 48 hours, very, very exciting. Hey, we got a bunch of solo gamers that watch the show. Jeremy the Ninja, he's one of those guys. He loves the solo games. And you're telling me this is a game that you're not even really that big of a solo co-op, and now you're playing it all the time. Absolutely. That's got me intrigued.
Yes.
That has got me intrigued. But what really caught my eye is something that Steve and I talk about offline all the time. We can't figure out why, but we both are in love with Kwanchai Moriya's art. Every game that I have by him, I just love what he does. I can't even explain what the art style is. It's all these geometric shapes combined with futuristic color schemes, really, really out there. Maybe Dinosaur Island, not my favorite. Maybe not that one. But everything else that he's done, I just absolutely love. Capital Lux and Cryptid and now in the Hall of the Mountain King. Steve and I want to know, was he part of the project from the start with Jay and them, or did you guys bring him along?
So he wasn't.
He's a busy man.
He is so busy, and we actually, well, there's a little bit of a story to that as well. So when we signed the game, there was no art, and I asked the guys who they would be interested in. He said, here are some people. I'm like, you know what? I need to have Kwanchai on this. I have wanted to work with him for so long. And Josh, who does the graphic design for our games and does the art direction, has worked with him before, and they get along very well. They do a lot of great work together. So I said, Kwanchai, it was around Gen Con, please meet us. Let's have a conversation. I know you're busy, and I know the next few months are like off limits for you, but please just talk to us. So we sat down, and 3 seconds in, Josh said, so the game is about trolls. And right after he said that, he's like, I'm in. What? And that was it. Yeah, that was it. He's like, I've always wanted to do a game with trolls in it. I'm excited to do this. And so we had to wait a couple of months for him because he is so busy, but he fit us in. And my goodness, he just, talk about striking game art and box covers. Like this so far for me is my favorite Kwanchai art.
Ooh, wow. That's a bold statement, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having Kwanchai on a project like this brings some eyeballs, number one. But number two, it usually just by looking at his art, it almost creates the word for you. And here's what I think is so cool about bringing Kwanchai in. When it's some of the interviews that I've heard from him, and by the way, please please ask Quancha to come on the show. One of these days, I'd love to have Quancha on the show. He is, if you haven't heard him on a podcast, he is a fantastic guest. He does not pull punches, and I love that about him. But what's cool about Quancha is he looks at art from a different view than most other people. I can't really explain it. It's just he has this kind of strange take on the way things should look. And so it doesn't surprise me that a game that kind of flips the flips the fantasy element on its head. You're the trolls rather than some hero going in to bash the trolls. That's what Quancha would be looking for. The ability to take a different perspective and bring it out in a game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The most amazing thing to me with the art has been to watch how Josh has described what he wants to see in the piece of art. And so, I'm thinking about what I imagine it to look like. And then Quancha comes out with it. I'm like, oh my God, that's the way it's supposed to look. It's amazing.
Marshall says Quancha has a great eye for color. He's right. That is one of his gifts. And I also really like both the cartoony style he does, true, and his more realistic style, a la Capital Lux. Hey, we sold one. Adam says sold.
Yay!
Hey, way to go. Thank you, Adam. I'll be seeing Adam on Wednesday. So Steven says, love trolls. They're some of the best characters in my favorite fantasy series, Discworld, one of Terry Pratchett series that Steve always loves talking about. Quancha was the big key, but you still have to have the gameplay. What attracted you so much to In the Hall of the Mountain King from a gameplay perspective, Helaina?
I think it was like going back to it. It was that the engine building. The designers had this idea. I don't know if you know this, but In the Hall of the Mountain King is a classical song.
The song, right? Yeah.
The song, and the crescendo of that song comes at the end. Yeah, exactly. It's slow. It's really slow to start. There are few instruments. It's nice and relaxing, and by the end of it, the song is huge and so many instruments, and it's really amazing to listen to the song build. And so the designers had the idea that they wanted to create a game that did the same. So when I talk about cascading production, what I mean is you start off with 4 trolls, and your trolls come with resources, and the resources help you build halls throughout the mountain. You're digging these halls to get earth statues and bring them as close to the heart of the mountain as possible through your network of halls. And so like I said, each troll comes with resources. So you start with 4, and as you go through the game, you're going to hire more trolls, and you're going to build. It's hard to see. You can sort of see it in the picture that you have up there. You're building a pyramid. Although your pyramid starts with 4, you're building a pyramid of trolls. So every time you hire a new one, you'll put it on top of 2 beneath it. So if you look at the bottom row in that picture, you see the row above it has one that sort of sits on top of 2 of them.
Right.
And you're building more and more. So as you use the resources, you'll hire new trolls, you'll place them down in this pyramid that you're creating, and you'll gain the resources for that troll and also the trolls beneath it whose resources have been depleted.
So that's the cascade. It's coming down.
That's the cascade. So it's coming down. So when you hire a new troll, you would want to be placing it over trolls that have resources that have been depleted, so you can make the most out of the resources that you have there. And the way it works is by the end of the game, you build your last troll. If you're the first person to build your last troll at the top of your pyramid, you gain extra points for being the first person, and then there are 2 more rounds after that, after the second person has placed the last one. So even though it is marking the end of the game, you still have 2 rounds to spend all of your resources on building these halls and unearthing the statues and moving them throughout your network of halls.
Ooh, you know what I like about that? Some games you build up that engine and you never get to really kick it into high gear.
Yeah.
This sounds like you not only build the engine, you get to run it for a little while.
That's right. Originally, when we first were working on the game, it ended after one person had built their last troll, and then we finished the round. And we felt like we had all this build up, and then it just ended. And doing 2 more rounds after the second person had built their last troll or bought their last troll or paid for their last troll, what am I talking about? That worked out really well, where most players get to spend their resources.
People don't want to just see Evel Knievel build the motorbike and get up close to the ravine. They want to actually see him jump. And this way you get to jump the ravine, you build that engine and you close it out. It is different from what I was thinking, though. When I heard cascading, when I saw it on Kickstarter, and I've heard it in some of the interviews you've done, I was thinking more of if you've played the game Quebec. Not a lot of people have. It's a really cool game, but the cascading mechanic there is just the different scoring areas. As they send some of your meeples over to the different scoring areas, they cascade. So you start out strong in one, and your meeples keep going around, so you're becoming strong in each one. But I like this way. This is a cascade only on your part of the table. Right. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, I like that idea. Well, there's like you said, a lot of familiar mechanics, but Jay has taken the mechanisms that people are familiar with and kind of twisted them a little bit.
Jay and Graham.
I don't know Graham. Has he designed anything before? I don't recognize
Yes, the last game that he had that came out was published by Hoch and Friends, called Damn It.
Hoch and Friends.
It's a nice family game. We play it often. My kids like it.
I like Hoch and Friends. That's one of my favorite publishers.
Yeah,
they publish. They're not superstar games. They're all solid, fun games. You know, I mean, they all explore whatever they're doing as a, you know, just I think the world of them. I always keep an eye on them when I go to conventions because they have a lot of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, thanks. Evel Knievel reference. The night is complete. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Steve and I share some of the same pop sensibilities. All right, in the Hall of the Mountain King. Tell people a little bit about the Kickstarter. It's 48 hours left. What are we looking at in this 48-hour stretch?
So we've got about 47 hours now. We have 2,753 backers. We're 591% funded. And this is Canadian money, so basically it's $3 US. But we have $236,504. And
I was doing the math in my head. I was like, I don't think that's right, but she's doing a bit. That's good.
It's not right, but us Canadians like to joke about the fact that our money is worthless compared to the US dollar. Anyway.
How many loonies is it going to cost me to buy this game? That's the real question.
The game is $89 Canadian for the deluxe, and it is $64 for the retail game. We've hit 15 stretch goals already, which is amazing. Wow. And now we're working on our 16th stretch goal, which I mentioned before is the solo co-op mode. And we're like $3,500 away from that. And, you know, the 48-hour notice just went out. So I have no doubt that we're going to hit that stretch goal. And we've got 2, maybe 4, if Josh can convince me, 4 more stretch goals left. I want to have 2 more. He is trying to convince me that we've got 4 left in us. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
How many players does it play?
Right now it plays 1 to 5. And it's a double-sided board, which is also really nice. So there's some territory denial in it. So area control. And because of that, we're trying to make the games that have a lower player count interact a little bit more. So the one side is for 2 to 3. You could even get 4 players into it. And the other side is 4 to 5 players.
And, you know, once people know the game, how long do you think a 3 or 4 player game is going to take?
90 minutes. Shouldn't take
Perfect.
shouldn't take longer than that. We've played the game with 4 players in 60 minutes, but we know the game really well, and we have an idea of what we want to do, and it's really nice. There's a lot of replayability because different trolls come out every time. There are some spells that you can use. Different spells come out every time, and it's. I would say the typical time is about 90 minutes.
Man, if 4 people that know it can get it into that 1 hour, I love what Chris Kirkman calls the 1 hour wonder. That's my favorite kind of game where you can get a big game still in 60 minutes, maybe even play it 2 or 3 times in a night.
Absolutely.
That's my favorite thing. We played Scythe 3 times back to back to back. I can't believe we've circled back to Scythe again. but we get a new gamer in the group and he gets excited about playing a game. So we played it 3 times all night. The last one was about just under an hour, 52 minutes, I think it was.
Wow.
So I love games that if we play in the Hall of the Mountain King and we can get it down to an hour, that is perfect. Hey, Steve, I had a question for you. Interesting color choices for the markers. Colorblind friendly?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That is, for me and my 2 brands, I want accessibility as much as possible. And I know that there are a lot of people in the community that have colorblind issues, and I want to make sure that they can see our game and that they're comfortable with it. The first thing we do when we look at colors is look at it through a filter. Josh's is a filter to see what the colors will look like, to make sure that they look different enough. In most of our games, we'll also include a pattern on something so that even if the colors are a little bit closer than is comfortable for someone who has colorblind issues, that pattern is helpful as well. A game that we are, I guess, releasing pretty soon as well for Kids Table called Bugs on Rugs. The rugs have different color carpets, or the cards have different color rugs, but we've put a pattern in there so that you can see the differences between them as well. So
it's something to think about, and it's hard in some cases, but in some cases it's pretty simple. Patterns, different ways of looking, shapes they can all make the difference for so many people. I just don't know any game groups nowadays, no matter where you go, whatever convention you have, every game group has somebody that has some kind of colorblind problem. And I hate that there's a couple of games like Yamatai is a game that we really can't play with a certain guy at the at the table, because to him it's just one big wash of brown,
I don't even really understand why it's so hard for people to get their head around that, because to me it's so easy. You just choose different colors. Anyway,
it shouldn't be. So that is in the Hall of the Mountain King. We got about 47 hours left. 2, maybe 4 stretch goals to break down for people like Adam who are out there supporting it. We're going to be keeping a close eye. This is a board game show, though, Helaina. And on a board game show, we got to play a game, right?
Okay.
All right.
Yes,
so
okay.
You sound so excited. All right. So one of the games that we like to play is called the Envy game. Are you okay with the Envy game? What it is basically, I don't know in Toronto what word Joe would use. Here, it's a Cajun word for meaning something that you're jonesing to do, or you got a hankering for. What do y'all use in Toronto if you really want to do something?
Yeah, jonesing is a good word.
Jonesing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we say we have an envy for that. Like right now, today I had some envy for some boudin, and I did satisfy that. So I feel a lot better after getting some. But in this particular case, we use the envy word because we want to know what game. It doesn't matter the cost or the availability. Maybe it's something published. Maybe it's something that hasn't been published yet. But if you had the perfect partners, the perfect night, you would stop this broadcast and go play it right now. For me, it's usually Concordia. If somebody offered me Concordia, I'd stop the show and I'd go play right now. But if you have one in mind, you got one in your mind?
I have one. Don't
let us know. What we're going to do is we're going to ask a series of questions, me in the chat room. The chat crew is also going to be trying to guess. They're going to try to guess before I get it, which is usually how it works. I'm usually pretty bad at this game. But I'll start asking questions. Now, some of them are yes or no. Some of them are kind of a little bit open-ended. Just answer honestly. That's all we ask. And if we get close, let us know. Okay. You ready to play the Envy game?
I'm ready. ready.
Okay, good. So first thing we always ask is it a competitive or a cooperative game? And based on your answers tonight, I'm going to say it's competitive. I'll bet.
It is, yeah.
Aha. Okay. So that narrows it down to about 95,000 games. That should be easy. Is it an American designer or maybe a European designer or
it's European?
European. You're a Euro fan, right?
I am, yeah, very
European.
much.
All right. So Chat Krewe, we got it's a competitive design by a European designer. Would you say it's board game based or is it card based as the primary, tactile play?
I would say a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it definitely has board and it definitely has cards.
Yes.
Both board and cards. Boy, we're narrowed it down to about 80 now.
I'm certain someone's going to get it.
Oh, probably so. So are you big into thematics? Is it a thematic game or is it more of an abstract type game?
It's thematic.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it does have a theme.
Yeah.
Has it come out recently in the last 3 years?
No.
No, it's an older game.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall says he's guessing it's not a sci-fi game.
No.
That's a good guess. No, these do not count against me. These do not count against my turn. Oh, Steve already guessed. Castles of Burgundy.
Nope.
No. Are there cubes to push around?
Oh, I don't know. I've never played this game.
Oh, you just want to play it.
Okay. I just want to play it. I totally want to play it.
Adam wants to know if it's got a fantasy theme to it.
No.
Jeff says, hey, Jeff, what's up, man? Jeff says, would it be considered gateway or
no, absolutely not.
No, not gateway.
It's a gamer's game.
Guys, we know it's a Euro. We know it's competitive. We know it's a European designer. I bet if we hit the designer, we're gonna figure it out pretty quickly, huh? Is it our buddy Uwe Rosenberg, maybe?
Nope.
No, are you an Uwe fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. It did not come out in the last 3 years.
Should I tell you what year it came out? Is that too much?
Oh, that would be a great hint. Yes. What year did it come out?
I believe it was 2006.
2006.
It might have been before that, but I think that it was. I think that was it. I'm now looking to see if I'm.
No, Jeff. Jeff.
What did he say?
It's not Lisboa, but he knows how much I love Lisboa. But that would not be 2006. He's picking on me because I taught him Lisboa, and we only got through 2 rounds. We didn't finish the whole game. So Kevin wants to know if it's a Splatterspell. Do you know?
I have no idea.
The publisher, Splatterspiel. Steven wants to know if it's a Feld. Is it a Stefan Feld game?
No.
2005 or 2006. She said it's a Euro design. So it's not Alan Moon. Because he would have had a couple of things back then. 2006. I can't remember. What did you say on the fantasy theme? You said it's not a fantasy theme.
It's not fantasy. It was 2006. I just looked it up. Yes.
Not space, not fantasy. Let's see. Does it have a historical theme?
Yes.
Yeah. So does it have a city in the name?
Nope.
Oh, I thought I was getting close. Does not have a city in the name. All right, to wrap up for those just joining, it's a competitive game. It's a European designer. It's got both cards and a board. It's got a theme, but the theme's not based on a city. It does have a historical theme, so it's not fantasy, it's not space. Came out in 2006. I do not have access to the internet, so I cannot check things like that. Let's see. Well, I do, but I'm not supposed to look, so I don't do that.
Right.
So it's beyond here. Oh, is it still in print?
Yes.
Still in print.
I just actually picked it up like 6 months ago. It's still sitting in shrink on my shelf.
Andrea Stedding? No. Not by Andrea Stedding. Okay. That it wouldn't be Knizia. No, Knizia
Nope.
would not. That doesn't fit this at all. Let's see. Oh, Martin Wallace game. He wants to know.
Nope.
Martin Wallace game. Yeah. Steve, it's not a Martin Wallace game. Let's see. Definitely sounds over 60 minutes. Your typical 90-minute Euro.
It is. It is. Well, this is going to give it away, I think. It's
really?
so long. It's so long. Takes so long to play it that's why I've never played it.
Is it about German elections?
No.
It's not Die Macher. Oh. It takes so long, and that's why you haven't played it. So oh wow, guys. This is a Euro game that takes a long time to play. Not your typical 90-minute. Wow. What is that one about the German postal system? Is it a German designer?
I don't know if he's German. I don't think so.
Is it war, Jeremy?
Can I just tell you already?
We're getting close. So it's not Twilight Imperium, of course, right?
Is it war? Oh my god!
Is there a map in the game?
It does take a really long time to play war.
Is there a map in the game?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think she's gonna have won this, guys. I don't see anybody. Oh, Through the Ages by Vlad?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's
nice job, Kevin. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Through the Ages.
It. I can't believe you got it.
No, now that you said it, now your clues made sense. It wasn't about a specific city.
No.
It takes a long time to play. I should have thought of that.
Kevin.
No, Adam, it's not based on evolution, but next week, Evan, come back. Adam, I've got a surprise for you next week. I'll let you in on it in just a second. Through the Ages, I've only played it on the app. I've actually never played the physical game because it takes so long.
It takes so long. Who has time to play that game?
So what attracts you to Through the Ages?
Just to play it. I just want to experience it once. I know I'll never play it again. I can't actually sit down to play a game that long, but I'd like to know what that's like. Really.
So Kevin is the big winner. He guessed it. Through the Ages. We got to make sure we mark that down. Fantastic. Good job, Kevin. Kevin's a good guesser there. He gets a lot of the jambalaya clues. All right, board gamers, that is it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest, Helaina Cappel from Burnt Island Games and, of course, Kids Table Games. How can they reach you if they have more information or they want more information about In the Hall of the Mountain King?
Well, you can look it up on Kickstarter. It's up for another 26-ish hours, 27 hours. Or you can go to burntislandgames.com and you can find more information there. In the Hall of the Mountain King on Kickstarter right now, 47 hours, right? 47 or 20? Yeah, 47-ish hours. You can get the game for between $50 to $80, depending on what level you want, and you still have 2 to 4 stretch goals that have yet to be busted through. So I can't wait to see. And fantastic progress on the project already. You guys are way over funding, and y'all are doing fantastic. It's got Kwanchai Moria art, plays in about 90 minutes, and it plays 1 to 5 people right now, right? Yep. All right, make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. It helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming guests and shows, including next week, Adam. I've got Dominic Krapichette from North Star Games. He's going to be talking about the brand new announced Oceans expansion for Evolution. Evolution is a game I haven't played, but a lot of my friends love that game, so they're going to be excited to hear about Oceans. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and until next time, Helaina, laissez le bon temps rouler. Bye, thanks.